I know I have been gone for a long time, okay, but hear me out, hear me out. Really, there's no excuses, but I had finals, I had the last little bit of my semester, passed all my classes. I'm so thankful, y'all. I'm talking about, I was hanging on by the thinnest thread ever made by man in my math class. It was business and social science math 1324, and it was terrible. I had my daughter's birthday come up. My birthday came up. I turned 28. So I just had a lot going on. I was working in between all that as well. But anyways, I'm super excited about today's episode. This is by far one of my favorite things to discuss. On my TikTok, every single week I have a video where I decode part of the Bible, a different story in the Bible, and I just talk about how all religions are really teaching the same thing. And, this is one of those things that is so controversial and can be so hard to hear. And before I even start talking on it, I want to just go over a few of my favorite quotes. And, this is what a lot of the philosophers and people that were so wise and ahead of their time were really talking about. And you can find all of this stuff and just different artist work. Da Vinci, right? I'll probably show some of his pictures later, but they were really talking about all of what I'm about to discuss. And, before I get started, if you're on your spiritual journey and you're just in this phase where you're starting to realize the true deeper meaning of what spirituality is, right? Because you can either get stuck in this conspiracy phase, you can go this atheist route where you don't even understand anything and you don't believe the Bible. But for me, I really have decoded it, and it has taken me, I feel, to a whole nother level of higher consciousness when you can understand this stuff for what it really, really is. The Bible is one of the greatest books ever written, if you know how to read it correctly. It really, really ties just everything together for me and all of what I've been learning over the past 7 years. So yeah, I want to go over Plato's allegory of the cave first. And because if you are on this journey, it's exactly what he talks about in this story and this allegory. And, it starts off, for those of you that don't really know what it is, it starts off by basically talking about how there's these prisoners, right? And they're all chained at their necks. And they're facing a stone wall, and all they have ever known their whole life is these shadows that they see on the cave. And they don't know that there's a fire behind them. They don't know that anything else exists. They don't even know that there's people beyond these shadows. They think it's just these shadows that they see. And they have chains on their necks, on their hands. They can't move. All they can do is look forward at these walls. So one of the prisoners gets released, and he goes out into the world, and he gets to see the sun, and he's enlightened. And he's like, oh my gosh, like everything that we think and we think we know is a complete lie, right? And he's so excited, and he wants to go back. And at the end of Allegory of Cave, it's a conversation between Socrates and Plato's brother. And they're talking about how, the whole story is about the philosopher. And when you become spiritually awakened and things like that, it becomes your duty to try to share this knowledge with the rest of the world. So when they're having their conversation, he tells him, even if I tell them everything, will they still not believe everything that they've been told, right? And Socrates is like, yes, they're still going to believe what they've been told because that's all they know. But your job is to go back in and to still try to enlighten them. Even though you're going to get hate, right? He doesn't use the word hate. I'm just trying to use normal terms. But he's like, even though you will lose all of your friends. You will lose all of your family. Everybody will look at you like you're crazy. Like you're some kind of alien and you have no idea what you're talking about. You'll be called crazy. And so many things come with the philosopher's path and the awakening path when you truly awaken. And, so he has to go back in there and still none of them believe him. And they still, believe only what they see. And they're like, no, we're not going to listen to you. And it just goes to show, and I love to reference that when just talking about this. And before I even start talking about how all religions, even mythology, is all talking about the same thing. And it's because when you do get on this path, that's exactly how it'll go. It truly is true that, there's a small group of people who have controlled our reality for a very, very long time, right? And one of my favorite quotes by George Orwell, he says, those who control the past control the present. Those who control the present control the future. And it's so true, right? Two of these books I recommend reading, and I'm sorry, I haven't even jumped into it yet. This is just a little intro. But two books that I recommend reading is the 13 Bloodlines of Illuminati. You can find it on the FOIA page, the CIA declassified page, or I think you can find it on, I don't know, try to look it up on library something. It'll come up. Just type in the free PDF version of it. And also look up the Committee of 300, right? So these two books are super important when we start talking about religion, right? And I always tell people the very first stage is always understanding conspiracies and going through that phase first. Because if you don't understand how everything that we've been told is a lie, you'll never believe the deeper part and this true esoteric knowledge of what I'm about to get into. And, I'm not even going to decode anything today. I really want to just talk about how we, basically Christianity came from Egypt, and all religions are teaching the same thing. And I want to talk about the history of how we even came to Christianity and how it wasn't the first thing that people believed in, right? People were very spiritual, but religion didn't even become a word until later on in the Roman period. Okay, so these two books, the 13 Families of Illuminati or Bloodlines of Illuminati, that basically just goes in depth on the families that run everything, right? So you have the Rockefellers, the Astros, families that you've never heard of, but these families very much rule and run everything. And there's only two companies that control everything in our whole entire world, Vanguard and BlackRock. But these families are strategically placed and they run everything, right? One rules the Federal Reserve and they run that money department. One rules the news media and these types of things. You have just different families that run everything. The Chase family and multiple other families. So that's a great book to read. And then the Committee of 300 is so good because, you'll have people that's like, there's no way that this is happening. And how could they do this? How could this many people keep a secret? And the Committee of 300, it was a whistleblower is what they call him. He was a CIA agent, I'm pretty sure in Africa, he said. And he came across these documents because you have to understand they have these agendas and they have them planned out for years. I'm talking about 50 plus years that we don't even realize. And they have this stuff in the works for a very long time. A Pale Horse by William Cooper is a great book to read to get into some of these agendas. But yeah, he said he came across these documents and he was enraged and he couldn't help himself but to write a book on it. And he talks about how they place these families in different parts of the world, right? So Africa, Asia, all over the world so that they can keep this secrets and just knowledge to themselves. And they want to very much lead us astray and lead us on the wrong path. And they very much want us to, just be obsessed with the material world. And that is where we go wrong by being tied to earthly things. And yes, we come here to experience and to learn, but we come here to spiritually evolve and to awaken and to fix what we've done with relationships and people. Nothing is about the material stuff that we can gain and how many cars you can have and how much money you can have, right? They get us very much stuck into the rat race, right? By debt and all these other things. And I truly do not care about any of that stuff. I want to be spiritually wealthy, not just wealthy, right? I hope the wealth comes after the spiritual wealth through what I love, not doing something that this matrix and these people have forced me to believe I have to follow along with. So yeah, I'm going to read off just some things on my phone, obviously, my notes. But I know that was a long intro and I'm sorry, but it's important to understand how the world has come to what it has come to. And you can even look up newspaper articles and see the same families have been running stuff since the 1800s, 1700s. There's actual newspaper, like pictures of them. And you're just like, God, no way. It's 2024. Like these families are still talked about to this day and their families are still running things. And I find it amazing. Kudos to them. They've really done their their big one, their thing with being able to stay consistent. And right, that's what I'm learning this year is consistency. And, I find it amazing that you can spiritually awaken and learn this stuff. And I find it so powerful. That's what I think true wisdom is. It is truly, my philosopher teacher, he asked us one time in class and I had to argue with him. He was like, wisdom is God-given and knowledge is just what others can gain. And I was like, I believe that knowledge is, what they put out there and make you think you're so smart because you went to Harvard or this or this or this, or because you're religious. And, true wisdom comes from being able to see past the veil, lifting that veil up and see all the lies that we've ever been told, and truly do your own research, look at things with your own eye, and truly go within and listen to your intuition. So yeah, enough of my yapping. I'm sorry. I just had to get a little bit of that out of the way. So how did we go from just everything to what we have now, to Christianity, to most people believing in Christianity? So, you had the Egyptian period of time, and you had Alexander the Great, who under this time, Egypt was under Persian law, and they actually disliked their ruler so much that when Alexander the Great come waltzing in and he kind of got on their good side, and the person that was ruling at the time knew that everybody loved Alexander the Great. So he basically stepped down, and this is when Alexander was able to, he started to rule Egypt. And this is when he started to just mold and include so many things together. So they started to, take Egyptian teachings and mix them with Persian teachings and mix them with Greek and all these things. So one thing we have to note is that Greeks stole everything from Egypt, right? So Pythagoras and all these things, yes, very smart man, but where do you think it all came from? These people knew this stuff. They were so intelligent, and at this time, this is when you had all the philosophers, Plato and all these people were going to Egypt and going to these esoteric schools and learning this knowledge, and they were able to go into what became about, right? Alexander, the Library of Alexandria. It was full of esoteric knowledge and books. And during the new period, when we started to shift from that to the Roman period, the library got burnt down. Of course it did. So a lot of these old teachings were gone. And, this is how they suppress information and get rid of information. So, during 312 AD, this is when the Roman period started to happen. And this is really when Christianity started to get pushed out there. And you had this emperor named Constantine. During the Battle of Milvian Bridge, he supposedly had a vision of a cross in the sky. And he said that he saw something in Latin, which, hold on, because I want to get the exact... I don't have what it said in Latin, but in translation, it said, "In this sign, conquer." He said that he had a dream the same night where Christ instructed him to use the Christian symbol for victory. So the Battle of Milvian Bridge, Constantine's victory in this battle, where his soldiers bore the Christian symbol on their shields, marked a turning point for Christianity. After his victory, Constantine became the sole ruler of the Roman Empire. So he introduced the Edict of Milan. Constantine and his co-emperor Licinius issued the Edict of Milan, granting religious tolerance to Christians and legalizing Christianity within the Roman Empire. This decree was a major step toward Christianity's acceptance in Roman society. Constantine became a patron of Christianity, financially supporting the construction of Christian churches and promoting Christian leaders within the empire. His influence helped Christianity grow from a persecuted faith to one with imperial backing. First Council of Nicaea. Constantine convened the First Council of Nicaea, where Christian bishops gathered to define key doctrines of Christianity, including the nature of Christ and the relationship between the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. This council also led to the establishment of Nicaea Creed, the creation of the new Bible, and revisions. Constantine ordered the creation of 50 copies of the Christian Bible, which were prepared by the scholars in the 4th century. These manuscripts, known as the Codex Sinaiticus and the Codex Vaticanus were produced with imperial funding to standardize Christian teachings. Constantine's involvement in the creation of these texts helped solidify Christian doctrine as the empire's official belief system. During this time, you had people that were Gnostics and what they called early Christians. And it's not that they were even Christian, it's just the name that they gave all these different groups that weren't really Christian. So these people, and Gnostic in Latin actually means, it comes from the Greek gnosis. I'm sorry, I said Latin. It comes from the Greek word gnosis, meaning knowledge. And back in the day, they believed when you were Gnostic that you were getting intuitive spiritual knowledge. And they very much understood that the Bible was not meant to be read literal, and all these stories that they were writing and the teaching of Jesus, they understood what it really meant. And basically made it a law that, that Christianity was the religion. And this is when all this pagan stuff started to become a thing, and all these teachings that they say were pagan, when people really worshipped and celebrated today winter solstice, which now has become Christmas, and so many other things that was interpreted in different ways in the Bible. They were stolen from the original teachings. But this was a way for them to have control. And during Roman time was very much a time, what I call the New World Order, where they were really, what's the quote that they said? Give them crackers and a show, and they'll do what we say, or whatever. It's something along those lines. But this was really when people started to just become brainwashed, and they started to use psychology and just different things to change what people believed and start this new religious movement. And so during this time, they would send missionaries to just throughout Europe and to other countries and start teaching the Christian religion. And this is how it became so big, and why so many people believe in it today. And they removed reincarnation out of the Bible. I forget the guy's name and his wife. They basically talked about how when people understand that they come back, that they are to be less controllable. And when we make them believe that this is their only one life, and these things like this, just goes along with everything that they're teaching, that it is a much better way to control them. So they removed reincarnation out of the Bible, and so many things. But by the end of the 4th century, under Emperor Theodosius I, Christianity was declared the official state religion of the Roman Empire. Pagan practices were increasingly banned, and the Roman state began enforcing Christian orthodoxy. With imperial backing, Christianity spread rapidly across the empire, eventually becoming the dominant religion in Europe. Constantine's vision and subsequent actions played a crucial role in establishing Christianity as the core belief system of Roman Empire, shaping the future of Western civilization. Okay, so that's just some of the facts I kind of wanted to go over. But I'm gonna make my next video. I want to I'll make it and explain how all of these religions are really teaching the same thing, and how they all came from ancient Egypt, and it was really taken and misconstrued. And there's people that run our world that have been for a very, very long time, and they want you to be attached to this earthly realm and to material things. And that is why a lot of the times you'll see and hear people talk about how they worship Saturn, because they very much do. And it's because it's the planet of matter, material things. And they understand this, and they follow the true teachings, the true knowledge, the true wisdom, and they want you to follow the esoteric outside of you, never truly learn who you really are, never to get off this wheel of karma, and to understand what true faith and true spirituality is. I'll talk a little bit on what the Bible is really teaching. It teaches meditation. Anytime the Bible is referencing the east or the right side, it's talking about the right hemisphere of the brain. And like I said before, Emerald Tablets of Thoth, all of this is stolen from there. As above, so below. The Bible is talking about the moon, the sun. The 12 apostles are the 12 zodiac signs. And you can find this in Da Vinci's work, The Last Supper, the God's Brain, where it's the image of God in the brain, you'll see the 12 apostles, but it's also the 12 zodiac signs. And he's reaching for man. And it just goes to show that society will not even try to understand this stuff. They will very much just listen to what they've been told forever. And, it's really talking about the 7 chakras within us. It's the 7 planets, the luminary planets, all of this stuff. And that's why I say it's the greatest book ever written. And I don't want to get too much into it because I'll make a new video on that next. So, everything that we've ever been told, I always say, is a lie. We have to be cautious of what we think we know and how smart we think we are. Truly, just use your own discernment. Do so much research. My favorite thing ever is to just deep dive on just different things. There's even CIA documents that talk about how religion was pushed to control people and how they, reworded and reworked so much. And there's all kinds of stuff to find. Books, documents on this stuff. Really take a deep dive and do your own due diligence and see for yourself. Don't just take my word. I was pretty much all over the place in this video, and I'm so sorry about that. I have a problem with that. I'm staying organized and staying on track. I'm going to continue to work on that. But yeah, I just want people to understand that everything we've ever been told is a lie. And, I hope to just cover so much of that on my channel. And once again, I'm sorry I went MIA for a couple weeks, but I'm back at it. I'm off from school for about a month. I'm so excited to be able to. You have no idea how hard it was to choose studying over looking at documents and reading whatever I wanted to. I spend most of my time doing that stuff. And so I really had to put my head in the books. And like I said, I was holding on by a thin thread with my math class. But yeah, all that is... we pushed through. We made it. I'm so happy. I am going to come out with 2 episodes this week just because I'm so happy to be back into it. And yeah, if you guys have anything you want me to cover, comment. If you have any, suggestions on what I should talk about next or things that I should cover, please comment. Y'all know how I feel when y'all show me love and just comment anytime. I'm like, what was that notification? Who was that? I'm like on top of it. Probably as soon as you comment, I'm already reading it. So thank you so much to everybody that always shows me support, watches my videos, shows me love. It truly means the world to me. I'm never looking to, hopefully this upcoming year is my year, but my goal is not to reach millions and thousands of people. I truly only want to reach those that are meant to hear what I have to say, those that are weirdly aligned with me. And yeah, so if you're not already following my TikTok, please do. It's Ashley_. I have so many great videos on there where it's just shorter versions and I talk, and it's just so much easier for me to post on there, and I post every day, multiple times. So yeah, once again, thank you all so much for the love and support, and I hope y'all have a great week. Yeah.